Welcome back, Cyber Warriors. If you're joining us today, grab your digital swords and shields because today we're diving into the mystical world of variables. And if you're new here, you might want to check out our last adventure on strings. Trust me, it's a riveting tale of text manipulation. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button. We promise more cybersecurity wizardry is just around the corner. In this video, we'll unlock the secrets of variables, the containers of chaos that keep our data safe and sound, like a well-guarded vault in the heart of a hacker's lair. So let's get coding. In your terminal, let's navigate to our Python scripts directory, which we set up in the previous video. Once you're there, we're going to create a new file called payload.py with the command gedit payload.py. And don't forget that ampersand at the end. It's a secret ingredient that keeps our terminal open while gedit works its magic. Now, before we dive into the fun part, remember our first line, shebang/bin/python3. This is our script's way of saying, hey, I'm a Python 3 script. Just like we discussed before. This line acts like a VIP pass, letting the system know that only Python gets to play in this sandbox. Now moving on to line 3, we're going to create our first variable. Let's call it total RAM and set it to 16. This is like telling the script, hey, I've got 16 gigabytes of RAM ready for action, so let's get this party started. So we'll write total RAM equals 16. Just like that, we've got our first variable ready to roll. Remember, variables are like little containers that hold onto our precious data like squirrels holding nuts for winter, but with less fluff and more code. Now in the following line, let's print out our total RAM variable. We'll type print, open parenthesis, total RAM, close parenthesis. Remember, I didn't put any quotation marks around it because that would turn our variable into a string. Kind of like trying to wrap your cat in a sweater. It just won't work out the way you want it. With that typed out, let's save our code and head back to our terminal to see how our code looks. We'll run the command python3 payload.py. And boom, there it is, 16. Just like magic, the value contained in our variable is printed onto the screen, proving that our script is as functional as a coffee machine on a Monday morning. And just like that, we've taken our first step into the world of variables. They're like the sidekicks of our Python adventure, always ready to store our data and make our lives easier, or at least keep our code from looking like a jumble of numbers. Back in gedit, let's create another variable called total RAM, but this time we'll give it a value of 20. We're upgrading, y'all, much like moving from dial-up to fiber optic internet. Now, if we execute this code, what do you think will happen? Let's find out. In the terminal, just hit the up arrow and press enter, and bang. There it is, 20. Now, why is that? Well, let's break it down. Python runs our code from top to bottom, just like reading a book. No skipping ahead to the juicy bits. So, when we define total RAM the second time, it replaced the previous value with the new one. It's as if we ordered a pizza and then decided, you know what, I want extra toppings. This means that when we run our script again, Python is simply following our latest instructions. Forget the old RAM. We're all about the 20 life now. And there you have it. Variables can change faster than your Wi-Fi connections during a storm. Now let's talk about data types. In our previous example, we used integers, like the value of our RAM, which is a whole number. But now I'd like to introduce you to fancy new data types called a float. Think of a float as numbers with a little baggage, just like when you try to pack for a weekend trip but end up taking half your closet with you. So let's create a variable called used RAM and give it a value of 5.75. This number has a decimal point, making it a float. And floats are great for when you need precision, like calculating the exact amount of RAM you've used after binge-watching cat videos. Next up, let's create another variable called name. What do you think that data type will be? A string, of course. So let's assign it the value black. We're all familiar with strings by now. They're just sequences of characters, like endless thoughts that run through your mind at 3 a.m. Finally, let's introduce the last data type, a boolean. This one's like a digital light switch. It's either on or off. Let's create a variable called system active and set it to true. And remember, the T in true is capitalized. If I make it a lowercase, you'll see it changes from red to white immediately. That's Python's way of saying, hey, you've got a problem here. A boolean can only be true or false with the caps on for the first letter. So be sure to spell it correctly. No typos allowed, otherwise your code might just throw a tantrum. Now before we dive any deeper, let's put our coding caps on and get a little creative. Imagine we're writing a program for a tech support. We've just hired a new analyst named Kundai Seva. He's 20 years old and wait for it, is a brand new hire. So I'd like for you to define 3 variables here. one for Kundai's name, another for his age, a third variable to indicate whether he's a new or existing hire. Take a moment to pause the video and spend 1 minute working this out. Don't worry, I'll be right here when you get back, ready to reveal my solution. Go on, give it a shot. Alright folks, let's dive into our 3 superstar variables for Kundai Seva. First up, we've got his name. Name equals Kundai Seva. Don't forget those quotation marks. It's a string. Now that's a name that could easily headline a cybersecurity conference. Next, we need to capture the essence of youth with his age. So age equal 20. The ripe old age when most of us thought we had it all figured out, only to realize we were just getting started. Finally, we've got to determine if our new friend Kundai is a fresh recruit or a seasoned pro. We can do this with our last variable, is new hire equal true. And that's it. Just 3 simple variables to keep track of our new analyst. I know you nailed this one. Whoop whoop! Let's keep the momentum going. Now, as we wrap up this video, I'm going to show you how to get input from a user. Let's create a variable called name. And to get input from a user, we'll need to use the input function. With the prompt, input, what is your name? On the next line, we'll greet our new friend with print, hi plus name. And remember, string concatenation from our previous video, don't forget to add a space after hi. We want our greetings to be friendly, not cramped. Now let's head over to our terminal to see how this looks in action. Execute the program and we'll be asked, what is your name? I'll type in Black, hit enter, and boom, it says hi Black. Ain't that beautiful? But wait, let's make it even more interesting. I'd like for you to expand on this program. This time, let's ask 2 questions. The person's name and their favorite activity in cybersecurity. So when we run it, it should print something like Black likes malware analysis. Alright, pause the video, take a minute to work this out, and then come back to check out my solution. So right after we ask the first question, we're going to dive into the second one. Let's create a new variable called favorite activity and use our good old friend, the input function. Favorite activity equal input, open parenthesis, open quote. What is your favorite cybersecurity activity? Question mark, close quote, close parenthesis. Now, on the following line, we'll bring it all together. We want to print something like print, open parenthesis, name plus like, space, favorite activity. So let's save our code and head back to the terminal, hit the up arrow and enter. What's your name? Let's go with Rutendo. And for what is your favorite cybersecurity activity? Of course, she loves ethical hacking. Boom. Just like that, our code prints Rutendo likes ethical hacking. Doesn't that make you feel like a hacker wizard? And that's it for today's video. I hope you had fun learning about variables. Don't forget to show some love by smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. After all, more hilarious and informative content is on the way. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. We will dive even deeper into the world of Python for cybersecurity. Until then, stay cyber safe and keep coding.